Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. My name is Nimesh, Radia, and I'm your host. I love starting every episode by saying thank you. I feel so blessed with this podcast. The people it's reaching, I started it as a passion project, and my intention was really to guide people on their spiritual journey and to simplify spirituality. I didn't say it was easy, but I actually feel that spirituality doesn't need to be as complicated as we make it sometimes. And with the messages we get on a weekly basis, they're clearly having an impact. So thank you everyone that supports. Thank you for everyone that messages. Thank you for everyone that listens on a regular basis. If this is your first time, welcome. Let us know what you think. Feedback is always a blessing. So thank you. I am an Akashic record reader, Akashic trainer, podcast host, podcast creator, spiritual coach and mentor. And I love what I get to do. I get to guide people on their journey, hold their space while they're going through a shift, and really kind of help people understand the gift they have, the light they are, release the programming, and truly shine their light. I love what I get to do. I feel so very, very blessed. And with this podcast, it wouldn't be where it is today without my beautiful and stunning co-host, introducing the amazing, the stunning, the healer extraordinaire, and published author, Stacey Brown. You know, I got to do it, Stacey. Over to you. I'd love for you to introduce yourself.
Hi, friends. It's so good to be here. I'm really looking forward to this episode. My name is Stacey. I'm an intuitive. I do readings for people from all around the world. I'm also an Akashic record reader and a spiritual coach and mentor. And my book is available on Amazon and Audible, and it's called Journey to Soul Center, Discovering the Gift of Surrender. I'm really looking forward to this topic today and seeing where it takes us. I know it's going to be a journey.
Definitely a journey. So, I guess full disclosure, we're recording this on Monday the 7th. 7/7 being a powerful portal, Uranus moving into Gemini, and so many big shifts. And this definitely feels like an intense topic. So last week we talked about forgiveness beyond betrayal. And, when your trust is broken, what does that really mean? How do you expand? I feel like this topic is a deeper continuation of that topic. And so this week we're talking about compassion without collapse, how to hold boundaries with a narcissist. And definitely, I'm sure, a topic that a lot of people can relate to. And it's, when you have a narcissist in your life and they have such a big impact, especially if they're either a close family member, a partner, etc. It's just, what does that mean from a spiritual perspective? Why would you pick that? And we talked a little bit about it last week in terms of soul contracts and releasing ancestral and personal karma. And this is similar, but it's deeper. And I guess the title's compassion without collapse. So maybe we start by talking about the difference between compassion and self-sacrifice. Being compassionate doesn't mean you have to tolerate harmful behavior to yourself. For me, it means seeing the soul while still honoring your own, because everybody's going through a journey, right? And everyone's healing in some kind of way. And I guess, for me, the difference between compassion and self-sacrifice means that even if you have a soul contract with somebody and you're expanding, it doesn't mean that you have to do it at your expense. You can still see the deep journey that soul's going through, but honor your own. And we'll talk more through this and through this episode. And this topic actually came from Stacey. It was based on a conversation she was having with a friend, and it is a conversation we have quite a lot with different people. So it felt like a topic to do. And yeah, it is a heavy topic, and we'll dive into it. And Stacey, as always, I'd love for you to kind of, where did this topic come from? What does it mean to you? And yeah, let's dive deep. But I'm going to hand over to you first to kind of give us some context where this topic came from, and then we can dive deep. Over to you.
So I was sitting with a friend the other day and having a conversation about our upbringing, how we were raised, and the impact that it had on us. And it was kind of a ripple effect of a conversation that I had with my ex about my father a couple days before. And for those who don't know, I haven't been in touch with my father in 6 years. And it was through the situation that happened with my son, everything kind of fell apart. And it really came to light for me how unhealthy the relationship with my father was through that experience. And it's interesting because when you go through trauma, it can re-trigger trauma from your past in a whole different way. And, you know, in my 40s, my son is going through this significant life crisis. And my father tried to step in and be the hero and fix everything. And it sparked something in me that reminded me of the trauma of the upbringing with him and sent me on this inner spiral of trying to figure out how I got to this place that I'm having this toxic relationship with somebody, even in my adult life, that I have the ability to communicate with other people and convey my feelings in an appropriate way. But when it comes to this particular dynamic, I shut down. I don't know how to be myself. I don't know how to advocate for myself. And I didn't know how to advocate for my son. And through these conversations, it's come to light that my father is claiming that my book is all a lie and that the things that I've shared in that book are not the truth. And it has brought me to a space of wanting to use my voice even more to help other people who are navigating through narcissistic relationships. You know, I don't believe that my dad, and I think this is where the compassion part comes from, that I have compassion for him. I don't believe that my dad was born a narcissist. I believe that he was born an extreme empath and very tenderhearted as a little boy and absorbed a tremendous amount of abuse and torture from his parents as he was growing up. And I believe because of that significant abuse, it warped him and it changed the way that he was showing up in the world. And unfortunately, I became a victim of that shift in him. And it really impacted the way I was raised, Nims. I mean, I was controlled. I was made to feel small. I was made to feel that my voice didn't matter. And 6 years ago, I was sent on that same spiral again. And the reason I wanted to explore this topic today is because I know I'm not the only one. And I know that we have to find a way to navigate these relationships. For me, the healthiest thing was to remove myself from the relationship and to love my father from a distance. And, I have people say all the time, oh, you're angry, you're holding a grudge, you'll get through it. No, I'm holding a boundary. And there's a huge difference between a grudge and a boundary. And it took me a while to figure out what that boundary needed to be in order for me to be a healthy person. In order for me to have healthy relationships and navigate forward in a positive way, this is something that needed to happen. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm never going to talk to him again because I don't know what the future holds. I just know that in this season, as I've been developing a backbone and I've been healing and I've been processing, the best thing for me has been to keep this relationship at a distance and allow myself the space to process what I need to in order to navigate through this. But it has not been easy. And I know it's something that so many people face, whether it's a narcissistic partner, a parent, a sibling, some other family member, a friend. There are people dealing with these type of relationships all the time and curious about how to navigate them. And so one of the things I want to do today is I want to release the stigma that we have to keep these people in our lives if it's not healthy. And I want to give us a place to process the pain that comes along with having a narcissist in your life and allow people a platform to figure out how to move forward in a healthy way from these relationships. So this episode feels really important to me today and something that I'm really hoping we can help a lot of people with.
Powerful stuff. And it's it's great that the insight you shared in terms of the compassion you have, because you started to recognize that actually what he's been through is kind of, he was receiving too much information and everything. You're not excusing his behavior, you're just in a way trying to understand and get a deeper knowledge on his soul's journey, which is powerful. I guess a good place to start is how to recognize the signs of a narcissist. Labels are bandied around so much right now in terms of, this person's this person's that. What is a narcissist? It's like, what are the patterns to recognize it? And if you were honest with yourself and looked around at the souls in your world and truly felt the energy of it and asked that question, am I surrounded by narcissists? Do I have narcissist partner, parent, whatever they look like? At a level, but what does it look like? Things like gaslighting, blame shifting, not owning who they are, and switching. It's like, love bombing and then kind of abusing. Ultimately, your energy, if it's somebody that drains your energy, disconnected from the truth, those for me are all signs that the person that you're thinking of is a narcissist. And it's somebody that tries to distort reality. And the first thing Stacey was talking about too, right? She's chosen to keep a distance. I mean, her learning, her expansion is still coming through, right? She's still learning from that. But it doesn't mean that that person needs to be in her life. So grounding, inner knowledge, trusting your knowledge, because 100% that's where narcissists do, is distort your reality, turn things around to you. So, I mean, Stacey, just based on your parent example, what to you are the signs of a narcissist?
I think gaslighting is a big one. I also think love bombing is a big one. I kind of was in this dynamic with my father where he would get angry about something and just verbally destroy me. And then within moments, he would turn around and tell me how much he loved me and how I was amazing and I was just a wonderful daughter. And he would hug me, and it was like a switch flipped. And we would go from how terrible I was and all the things I did wrong into what a beautiful soul I was. And it was so confusing as a child because you don't know what to believe. And of course, it's easier to believe the negative stuff. It's easier to absorb the negative stuff and say, okay, I am these names that my father's calling me, and I am these things. And I think some of these traits are really commonplace. I think the other thing is kind of distorting reality, right? And saying one thing happened when it didn't actually happen. And I would say that's probably the biggest thing, is this distortion of what actually occurred versus what is. And it can be very, very confusing because you're living in someone else's reality, and yet the reality is so distorted, you can't even connect with it. So I would say some of these things are pretty big things. So gaslighting, I think lying is a big one. I think trying to protect your reputation is a big one. I think behaving one way in public and another way in private is another big one. You know, my father had this amazing reputation within like our church community and within his work community. And it was very, very different than the man that we saw behind closed doors. Right. So I was the person who would get the people coming up to me saying, "Oh my gosh, your father is so amazing. You're so lucky. I wish I had a dad like yours." And people didn't see what was happening behind closed doors. So holding up this public image, I think, is another big one. And getting people to believe that that you live a certain way, or that you are a certain way, and then you're a different way behind closed doors, is another big one.
Yeah, it's really interesting, right? And then when you start to add in our deep programming around, and it comes from kind of deep ancestral expectations too around what love looks like, what a father should be, right? It's an expectation, and maybe that's why we stay in situations longer than we should, right? And it's that actually it's similar to what we talked about last week in terms of you do pick the closest relationship in your life for a reason, right? And it's recognizing that whoever the narcissist in your life is, they are there for a reason. They are there to teach you that. But also, like Stacey was talking about, you don't necessarily need to stay in their world to continue learning. And understanding your soul contracts, and knowing that you pick that person to expand you is powerful. But then, sure, setting your boundaries, knowing that, for example, you pick your blood family, your parents, to expand you. They're not always here to love you. And accepting that is powerful. Accepting that you deserve to be treated a certain way is also powerful. But, kind of understanding and I'd definitely recommend you listen to last week's episode too, understanding the soul contracts. Why would your soul pick a narcissistic parent, a partner, a friend? There's obviously something for you to learn, for you to expand. And the first stage is always awareness, right? From awareness, you can actually then start to do something about it. You can start to, after awareness is always acceptance. So knowing that you have a choice, knowing that you picked that relationship for a reason, and once you start to understand the reason, you can start to release and do something about it. I really feel like this lifetime, we've picked some really expansive growth lessons, some painful experiences, because I feel like this cycle, especially with the shift the planet's going through between divine masculine to divine feminine, we had to release some really deep karma, which is why it feels right now there's so many deep relationships. And ultimately, if you go back to some of your most challenging relationships in your past, I really feel you if you ask that question, they would have taught you the most and grown the most. So maybe that's a great place to start, is really checking with yourself and ask, how have I grown from these relationships? What are they to teach me? An affirmation actually that I got from some of the mentorship stuff we do with our clients is, I trust my experience. I no longer need to be seen by someone who cannot see themselves. and just kind of increasing your awareness and knowing that you deserve, you deserve to stand in your power. You deserve to set those boundaries, and that you can get your lessons. You don't have to have them in your energy and your vibration. So, Stacey, what do you feel about the soul contract that you had with your dad? I know we've talked a lot about healing the masculine in you, and that's something I know you've done a lot of work on. But for you, why did your soul pick that relationship? Any insight you can provide?
I mean, I believe every experience we go through is strengthening us for what we're going to face in our lives, right? Like every relationship has like a place, a part, a role it plays in developing us. And I absolutely believe that all of my painful experiences, including being raised by a narcissist, have allowed me, like they've shaped me and molded me into a person that can help other people because of what I've been through, right? Like if I hadn't been through these experiences, how would I navigate helping someone else through them? And I've been through so many challenging experiences in my life that I just believe that God sent me on a path to make me as strong as possible so that I could help other people on their healing journey. And one of those things, one of those big pivotal things was the relationship with my father. And feeling the dysfunction of that and navigating through years of not understanding it. I mean, I spent so much time, friends, and I feel like somebody is going to relate to this. I spent so much time like wondering what was wrong with me and trying to fix myself to be a better daughter and to be a better partner and to be a better this and a better that. I was constantly looking at myself and picking apart what I was doing to an extreme because it felt like there was something that was always wrong with me growing up, like that the problem was me. And so I carried that weight with me for a really long time and tried to navigate fixing myself, adjusting myself, adapting, morphing. What do I need to be or become in order to satisfy this person that I don't want to let down? And it became this game almost of me like trying to morph myself into the perfect daughter. And yet, no matter what I did, there was always something wrong with what I was doing, right? There was always a criticism. There was always something that wasn't enough, that I wasn't being enough, doing enough. And I really took that to heart. And it took me a long time to realize there is nothing wrong with me and that it's the dynamic of the relationship that is the issue. And once I recognized that, there was so much freedom that came from that because I recognized I don't have to change. I have to be myself and I have to accept that she's enough, whether other people see it or not. And that was really hard. That was probably the hardest thing I had to do was accept that there was nothing wrong with me and recognize that the relationship was expecting something of me that I could never give. It wasn't realistic. And I think that's been the hardest thing to overcome is there's an expectation that my father has had of me that I still don't understand and I still don't know how to reach. And in order for me to be okay with myself, I have to figure out what that line is, not what someone else thinks it is for me.
I love that. Kind of moving away from your programming expectations and knowing that, because we do blame ourselves, right? Especially when I find with blood family, we do kind of, because that's what they kind of take us to that place, right, where it's your fault, not theirs, and redefining what your expectations in a relationship, in a partnership, standing in your power, and actually being okay with not having them in your life, right? How often do we have this expectation that just because somebody's a blood family that they always need to be in our lives? And that's a choice, by the way. I mean, I don't think any of us are advocating that you have to cut your blood family out. But I would still say be open to it, right? But I feel like it's all about taking your power back and realizing that it's not all about you. It's not all your fault. Taking a step back and just looking at the person, the relationship, looking at how they make you feel, lowering your energy. And sometimes you do need to leave their world to find you again. Because being with a narcissist, sometimes you do lose you. And I feel like that's part of the journey. And, creating boundaries, sacred containers for healing, is not a punishment to anybody. It's actually, it's something you're doing for you. So what does that boundary look like? For Stacey, it was, on the journey that she's talked about, I feel like for a while it was detachment, keeping distance, but eventually it led to cutting them out. But creating your boundaries doesn't have to be a wall, but a circle of protection that protects your energy, puts you at the center of your world, and prioritize what's right for you. Because so often when we think about blood family and, kind of the narcissistic relationships, it's always about the other person. So for me, the first thing to ask yourself is, what are your boundaries? And then take it from there. So Stacey, what advice would you have for somebody that has a narcissist as a parent, or kind of what are the steps that somebody can go through to maybe recognize that it's time to do something different?
This is such a good question because for me, in my circumstances, I don't feel like I was given like a peaceful exit. I feel like it was in an extreme situation I was facing with my son. I was trying to handle my son and deal with my father, and I made a choice. Like, I was going to deal with my immediate family, my situation with my son, and I was by choice not going to engage with my father. And it was like that extreme, like do or die. I have a child who's fighting for his life. I have a family that's falling apart. This is where I need my focus to be. And I just said, I need space. And that was it. I hope that it doesn't have to come to that for other people to set the boundary and figure out what they need. But I absolutely feel like you've got to take a closer look at the relationships that you feel might be narcissistic in your life. You've got to take a closer look at them and say, what is the price that I am paying to stay in this relationship? And really take a good, long, hard look at who you have become because of this relationship. I'm not saying point the finger at the other person. I'm saying look at how the relationship has impacted you as a person. Is it changing you? Is it making you bitter? Is it making you guarded? Is it making you angry? Is it hurting you? If you are feeling those things, then I think it's time to take a closer look at the relationship and say, is it worth having this person in my life? Like, is my life better because this person is in it? And I know this can be hard, right? Because people will say, well, like, oh, it's my brother, or it's my mom, or it's my father, or like, I don't see how you could do that. And with all due respect, I don't see how you can stay in a relationship like that, even if they are your blood family, because the relationship for me was so toxic. It was breaking me. It was breaking my soul. It was breaking my spirit. And it was wearing me down into a place that wasn't healthy. And so, if you have a relationship like that in your life, I really encourage you to take a long, hard look at it and say, is it worth me having this person in my life, or is it breaking me down? And I think it really takes a lot of soul searching and introspection to make that decision. Like I said, for me, it was made kind of in an abrupt way because my circumstances were so heavy. I don't know that it necessarily has to happen that way for everybody, but I absolutely believe that it's really important to take a closer look at these relationships and say, how is this serving me? Am I better for having this person in my life? If the answer is no, then you've got to take a closer look and say, okay, what do I need to do differently? And it might not even be cutting the person out of your life. I mean, I personally felt that was the only choice I was left at that point. It might be that you can keep this narcissist in your life, but my question to you is, can they respect your boundaries? Because a lot of times with narcissists, they don't respect boundaries. And if they don't respect boundaries, how do you keep them in your life? So these are some things to think about as you're moving forward in trying to decide what you're going to do, if you're going to cut somebody off, if you're not. Really take a close look and how is this person impacting your life? Do you feel like your life is better because they are in it? And if the answer is no, then my friend, I think you have something to take a closer look at.
Powerful stuff. Um, the question that came to mind, that maybe you can sit with is, what level of connection honors both my soul and my safety? Because for me, this is all about putting you at the center. And the other thing is checking with your inner child. When you're around that parent, sibling, partner, friend, how does your inner child respond? Your inner child is that part of you that reacts rather than responds. The one that shrinks, the one that gets angry, the one that feels numb. That's the clue when you're giving your partner away. The other thing too is we'd always recommend is self-care, right? When you have a strong self-care, time in nature, time in meditation, time doing some physical activity, walking, etc., it allows you to be more present. And from that place of present, you can respond rather than reacting. Because reacting does come from your inner child. It does come from that primal need to defend. But actually, when you are taking care of yourself, then you can actually respond and you get more of an awareness of who you are. And to Stacey's point, if you decide whoever this narcissist has to be in your life for whatever reason, then ask your guides to protect your energy. Visualize a bubble, visualize a light shield around you, and ask your guides to only allow things that are loving and supporting into your vibration. But always understand that your answers are in you. And just because society says that, we should always keep blood family in our life or whatever that looks like, doesn't mean you have to give your power away. And actually, honestly, it doesn't mean that you have to keep them in your life. And, Stacey's story, and Stacey, thank you for sharing so vulnerably. I feel like the universe gives us little nudges, little things that happen, especially with, family, etc., that we know are not serving us. And maybe we don't listen. We just, they're our parents. Let's keep them at arm's length. But then the universe kind of has a way of pushing us, right? And Stacey's example was extreme. Her son was in a life or death situation, and her dad was still trying to jump in and be the hero. And she's like, well, hold on, I need to focus on my son. And it took that extreme to really kind of understand that what's best for her. And this is the thing, it's like, if you look at it and you say, okay, I have a soul contract with this person, whether it's a family member or sometimes we stay in it, it's like a trauma loop. We try and leave, we come back. We try and leave, we come back. But I feel like now's the time for us to stand in our power. So if you listen to this, maybe it is time time to honor you. It's time for you to put you first. And what does that look like? Only you can decide that, right? Because if for example, if you need to forgive yourself, forgive the other person, they don't have to be in your life for forgiveness. You can choose to take your power away and stand in your power and do it from a distance. You can integrate and release the soul contract and integrate the lessons again from a distance. You can, for example, talk to your parents' higher self. You can close your eyes, call in your higher self and call in your parents or whoever the narcissist is, and have a conversation. It's our expectations of we always need to be around. We always need to kind of be in blood family relationships. And that's a programming perspective. You have to do what's right for you. And also think about, are you ending a cycle? What if your parents went through the same thing as with their grandparents, etc. And how much is your relationship with the blood family, with your narcissist, going to affect your relationship with your kids? What example are you setting for your kids? So, it's an interesting, when you take a step back and you start to understand you hold the power, that's where the power comes from. And so, Stacey, I'm curious for you, how are you healing that part of you? What are you doing to kind of heal from a distance? Forgive yourself, forgive your dad, if that's the example you want to pick. What are you doing to continue the expansion, but not be in that person's space?
This is such a good question because it's taken me a really long time to get to a place of forgiveness, but I have forgiven my dad. And like I said, I think a huge part of that is understanding what his experiences were in life and how they molded him into who he is. And I know that he went through some horrific things as a child because he told us the stories and recounted these disturbing things to us as kids. And I know that he's been through a tremendous amount of pain and suffering. And so for me, I have compassion for that 100%. And I have really worked on forgiving him for the role that he has played in my life. And then I think the other thing is taking a closer look at the other relationships in my life and making sure that I'm not repeating some of the same patterns. Because I think oftentimes we don't realize it, but we can repeat patterns and be drawn to people that are similar to people from our past and bring them into our future, which means if we're familiar with narcissistic behavior and that's what we know, then we can attract other narcissists into our lives without even realizing it. And I have taken a really close look at the relationships that I have in my life and making sure that I am in healthy relationships versus relationships that feel uncomfortable or toxic. And really taking a close look at all the relationships I have in my life, not just the family dynamics, but the friends and the friends that are family, and making sure that I'm heard is a huge one for me. Using my voice again and finding my voice has been really powerful because I feel like I spent a lot of years not having a voice. And now that I have a voice, it's important to use it. So I would say all of these things are factoring into my healing. I do a lot of journaling, a lot of writing, a lot of reflective writing, to bring myself to a place of understanding myself better. And I'm just in a heightened state of awareness that I don't think I would be in had I not been through this relationship with my dad, right? That have gotten me to really think about how the people in my life treat me and how they show up for me. And I feel this is something everybody should do. It's like a personal inventory. And, looking at the relationships that you have in your life, are they healthy? Are they inspiring you? Are they bringing more joy to you? Or are they weighing you down? And taking a closer look at those relationships and saying, okay, these are the relationships that lift me up and serve me, and these are the ones that don't. And sticking with that, really important.
Yeah, powerful stuff. And forgiveness of the other person is obviously important, but making sure that you forgive yourself. If you have cut a parent out of your life, and sometimes it's hard, right? Because of the expectation, but being kind to yourself and accepting it. If you feel like there are some souls in your world that are done, then there's lots of cord cutting practices you can find online. I just love to call in Archangel Michael and ask him to cut the cords that no longer serve. But I'm sure there's more elaborate process online if you want. The soul contract with the narcissist is intense. It is, and it's very expansive. But here's the other thing I feel is really important: is sometimes we feel like we need to fix everybody. It's like, especially when you're on the healing track, I remember when I first activated the healer in me, the first thing I wanted to do was heal all my family. But not everybody's assigned to you. Your empathy is a gift, but not everybody deserves access to it, right? So always put you first. And protecting your light and putting your light on you first is so important. And check in with yourself. If you have a narcissist in your life, and are you trying to fix them? Especially with a parent and an elderly parent, sometimes you're like, well, who else have they got? And again, I'm not asking you to cut them out of your life, but don't give your power away. Don't feel like you have to put them first all the time, because that's programmed behavior. For me, this is all about putting you first and really taking a step back and putting your boundaries and actually being okay with it. Because again, we have all these expectations of who we should be and who, putting everybody else first. It's all programmed behavior. The other thing, actually, Stacey, we haven't talked about is your soul family. So I feel like when we talk about divine masculine, it's all been about self. It's all been about, a lot of people have been kind of feeling like nobody really understands them in the kind of little cocoon. And I feel like we're shifting into a space of community. And it's like, if you're open to it, just because your blood family don't love you the way that you are, what if you could manifest a soul family, a spiritual family that actually gives you the love that you want? Divine father, divine mother, divine brother, divine sister. Again, don't give your power away. But what if you could seek out relationships with people who hold your space and allow you to be you and truly expand you? And, there's beautiful community. We have the monthly Zoom call as an example. That's a beautiful, loving community. Or maybe seek out a mentor, make out somebody to guide you, to put you first. Asking for help is such a beautiful thing. Surround yourself with people who truly lift you up. This is the time where we've been asked to really shine our light differently, to shine our light, but also shine it together. So, Stacey, how do you feel about kind of letting go of the blood family and really kind of working on having a chosen family, a spiritual family, soul, whatever you want to call it? How have you gone about doing that? What does that feel like to you?
I feel like it's been the focus for me for the last 6 years is building a family by choice rather than by obligation or by blood. And it has been a really beautiful process because I have welcomed in so many loving souls into my life that fill a space for me of love and support and guidance when I need it. And it is really refreshing to know that the people that are surrounding me right now are by choice, right? That these are the chosen people that are in my life as my support. And it looks very different than what I ever would have expected. I mean, I have some amazing friends who have become family and support me through so many challenges, and I do the same with them. And the relationships that I have in my life now are give and take, right? I feel like I pour into people and I get poured into at the same time. And it's a really beautiful space to be in when you've created that by choice and you're surrounded by loving souls. And I just continue to be committed to expanding that circle, right? And filling it with as much love as possible, not just with my kids and my blood family, but by those that I've chosen to bring into my life who have become family to me. And this last 6 years has taught me that family doesn't have to be blood, that you can have people that come into your life that can be just as strong, if not a stronger connection, because you've chosen to be in each other's lives, not because there's an obligation. And it's been really beautiful for me to pour into those relationships and have a family by choice.
That's so beautiful. And it's, it's really interesting. The work I did with Sidra, and for those that haven't heard, she was my mentor, my friend that's now a spiritual guide. But she used to assign me as a divine father to so many people. So I was like, energetically, used to wind me up actually a little bit. But maybe that's the other thought is, and it's not about giving your power away. It's not about, but who in your life are you holding space for? Who in your life could you hold space for? Yeah, I know, sometimes I feel like a divine parent to Stacey, I mean, checking in whether she's eaten, whether she hasn't. And, I'm like, wait, hold on, but it's the role that you play, right? And, when you hold space for somebody else's power to use, very healing for you too. It's also a karmic release too, right? So, I feel like everybody's going through something right now, and deal with others with kindness too. But I really feel like this is a time where you've been pushed to put you first. So if you've been like debating, sitting, and you're listening to this episode, then you're being called to do something different. And whatever that different is it's right for you. I mean, some of it may be cutting out narcissistic relationships, including if it's a blood family. It may be that you need to retain your power but still have that person in your world. That's your choice. But also remember, the universe has a role to play, and if you're not taking those tough decisions, the universe may push you to do that. And ultimately remember that holding compassion doesn't mean abandoning yourself. It's all about you. True love honors your boundaries, your healing, and your soul's growth, and that's the point. Your soul's here to grow. So put you first. Stacey, a really, really cool idea with this topic. I know we could probably talk about it for hours, but just if this hit a nerve, I'm sending so much love and light out. And Stacey, I'd love to hand over to you for any final thoughts, any journal prompts you may want to share. Over to you.
Friends, I would just really encourage you to take a closer look at the relationships that are in your life and ask yourself how they're serving you. Do these relationships light you up? Do they encourage you? Do they feel supportive? Or is there something toxic that needs to be addressed? And if it does need to be addressed, how are you going to handle it? How are you going to move forward with healthy boundaries for yourself so that you can be the best version of yourself? And if you're not sure how to navigate this, reach out for help. Nimesh and I are here to support you. And we say this all the time. Like, we have a free discovery call for anybody who's considering working with us. And we do that to give you a space to figure out what you need. So if you need us, reach out. This is something we help people with all the time, and we're here to support you. Nimesh, another powerful episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the idea. Thank you for the inspiration. And as Stacey said, if this any insights you got from this episode, we'd love for you to share. Let us know. Let us know what you're doing to stand in your power. As Stacey said, let us know if you need support. These are really powerful times if you really truly allow yourself to stand in your power. We are sending you so much love and light, and truly hope you felt it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to this old episode and being all the way to this point. And we're sending you so much love and light. Truly hope you feel it. Thank you, Stacey, again. And I'm sending everybody so much love and light. Bye for now.